Oh, shit.
Oh, my God.
Great start to the episode. That's exactly what I'm talking
My
about.
apologies, guys. I was going to do my normal consistency thing, but then you know how like sometimes you get some like saliva stuck in your throat and you just start coughing?
Consistency.
My apologies.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to What's the Hype, episode 10, first of the year.
2022.
2022.
How
Hold
we
on, guys.
feeling?
We said we were going to do it earlier, I think, but we did some more important stuff
Well, I mean, yeah.
last week.
We
so.
can we can kind of hop right into it if we want to like get started on what we kind of been up to these last couple weeks.
Personal update. Last podcast was the week before Christmas, so it's obviously been a little bit since.
Was it the week before Christmas?
It was.
so.
It was like the 22nd or 20th. No, it was like the 21st, I think, somewhere around there. But yeah, it was right before Christmas. So
Yeah, Christmas fell on what, a weekend, right?
it was like a Friday or Saturday, I believe.
True. All right.
Off, Ryan. I don't want to start.
I go first.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. He's handing off the baton to you.
He quit caffeine, so he's not. He's been.
It's been fucking rough.
He hasn't been great. Let's see. So obviously went to go visit the family for Christmas. So that was really fun. Was down there for I think at least a week. It's probably 7 days. So it was good to see the family. It was pretty hot, so I was pissed about that. There was one night where I was playing Apex with Robert and Schmeckens, and we got like 8 dubs, which is that's quite a bit.
Madness. I don't know what came over me.
So more important stuff for Bulk Nation. We got the music video ready for the new track. So I'm going to be posting that on the social.
Lug it.
So, so Bulk Nation, twitch.tv/BNVincent. Get ready for the gram because I'm going to be posting the new track soon. It looked really good. Really happy with how it turned out. Got more tracks coming in. Got some goals for 2022. So that's really exciting as well. Going to be growing my hair out as long as I can.
Oh, all right.
We'll see how that goes.
There we go.
Yeah,
Are we going to get some old school Sassai Ryan here?
we're going to go FMTM, Ryan.
I remember that.
That is
Can we open up one of these episodes one day with the...
With an
Throwback.
FMTM track? Hell yeah.
Let's go.
Also, shout out Brian in the chat. What's going on, homie? Good to hear
Yo,
from you
actually,
again.
My man.
I saw him and his little brother at
Yeah,
Disney
you said he was
Barn.
looking good, too. Good shit, man.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
Good
so...
to see you, homie. Hope you're
Ooh,
doing
also,
well.
my birthday is coming up. It's exactly 1 month after Christmas.
Oh.
Yep. So, going to be the big 29. Not 30 quite yet, but
quite yet.
Vega and I here are pushing 30. So
We're pushing it.
We got to
You're going to do any drugs?
Pushing it.
You got 1 year.
Yeah, I know. Pretty much. Because after that, you got to take metformin, which
Yeah.
is the stuff that David Sinclair, that he suggested that you take to prolong your life. Because that helps, like, I don't know what it does. I'm not going to sound like
Like a
I'm the doctor researching
multivitamin,
it.
kind of?
It's,
Like an
I don't know if
intense
it's a multivitamin. I just know that he takes a supplement that decreases the amount of, I'm going to botch it. I'm going to say cell dividing. But pretty much you prolong your life.
Oh, yeah. So every time that your body goes through mitosis and your cells divide, there are these little caps called telomeres that protect...
That sounds right.
Yeah, it protects the quality of your DNA, essentially. But every time they divide, they get a little more worn down.
Yeah, it slows it down basically. So I'm going to start taking that at age 30 because that's when he recommended it.
Do it up.
Yeah, so Bulk Nation stuff coming out. That's going to be great. New goals for 2022. Work has been going really well. We got hit by COVID pretty hard though. So everyone
stay
at
safe,
home,
people.
hopefully you guys are staying safe.
Yeah, that's Florida.
Everybody's been getting screwed up by
yeah.
that. So.
Yeah, I think I remember telling you, I think I caught it, but I was like achy for like 4 hours and that was it. But obviously, symptoms are not going to be true across the board. But anyways, that's my update. Fellas, how are you guys for your Christmas break?
You want to go? You want to go last?
I'll go next. Vega, you go last.
Oh, okay.
Christmas break
Save
was
the
super
best for
good.
last.
It was the first Christmas in 5 years I was actually able to spend with my family.
Woo,
Being in the-
unemployment.
Unemployment. Let's do it. Being in the service industry, I'm sure if you're listening, you understand, like, those are just days that you can't ask off. You're not allowed to. You have to be there because, for Christmas and Christmas Eve, you just got to be open and serve and yada, yada, yada. So since I had gotten a job at my last restaurant, it'd been 5 years since I saw my extended family, got to spend Christmas with them. So that was super nice. Got to catch up with all of them. Being in the presence of like your extended family, especially for me, because it's been 5 years, and like 5 years ago I was 21 and 22, so I was still kind of like still an adolescent, kind of like starting to mature.
Yeah, you're a little
Figure your
shit
shit
still.
out.
And
Yeah.
now that it's been like 5 years being in the presence of all my extended family as like adults and like looking at kind of who they are, and it's just interesting. It's different. It's a refreshing perspective for some, and because you don't just automatically look at someone above you and be like, oh, that's my aunt, that's my uncle. It's like you can kind of look at them and understand who they are at their core a little more, and it was fun. It was a fun little time.
You guys drink a lot?
You know, I bought like $100 worth of wine, and like I think I did this one time too before, and a different family thing. But like my family just doesn't drink like that. I wish they did. That'd be super fun,
Dude, so when I was going out before I left for to see my family for Christmas, I actually went to a liquor store to pick up some Christmas gifts. Dude, it was so fucking packed.
Oh yeah, dude.
I guess I never realized. I'm not talking just like, oh my god, there's like a line of like 6 people. Like I couldn't walk in the store packed.
That's why do you think the restaurants are open, bro? Because people want to go out and eat. They want to go out and drink. You know, they give those little gift boxes of Jack Daniels, and those things are the same price as like a bottle of Jack, $20. But like with a little gift set that's in the nice packaging,
cup in it
it's
too.
the same price.
Yeah.
They understand, and those glasses are super fucking cheap. But it's a great stocking stuffer.
Yeah, I was just
something like that.
surprised when I was out and about. I was like, oh, just pick up like a bottle or two, and it's just like, holy shit. Dude.
Yeah.
Fuck.
It gets pretty rough.
But
for sure.
It was nice seeing my family. Rebranded the socials to Lightning Works. It was
Plug it.
Lightning Works official. If you followed me on Instagram, it was.
Is there any like underscores or anything in there?
It's a Lightnings _works_ official. But yeah, just kind of taking my Instagram and learning new things. I've learned a lot more about After Effects, how to make things in there. There's a whole separate rendering engine for 3D. That's Cinema 4D that's implemented in there. So that was cool. I did a little exercise on that, posted that. Learning about video production in Premiere. I downloaded a plugin called Motion Array or something like that.
There's some favoritism going on right now.
Okay, what?
I do believe Vega said for me to plug my stuff.
Oh.
So he put it in there.
Oh
in the
my
chat.
God. Plug it.
But you know what? Whatever. I get it. It's fine.
So
The old guy.
Premiere, learning editing videos down for that, but that's more for fun. But I just like, you know, since I've been going out and recording more, I had some friends, my longest friends essentially from 7th grade. They were in town, so we went out and ate nice restaurants, went to Arcade Monsters, and I got a lot of footage that I'm taking and I'm editing it down.
Kyle and Kim, by the way.
I need to
Kyle
go
and
to
Kim. Shout out
Arcade
Kyle and Kim.
Monsters. I always hear it's pretty good,
Dude,
but I've
it's
never been.
so fun. I love it. It's great.
What was the one? There was one over by Disney that we used to always go to.
Player One.
Player One.
No,
Yeah,
not
I didn't
as
like
good.
Player One.
Not
Player
as
One
good.
was
No, no,
ass.
See,
The
when
one
I
time
first went
went
there, it was
ugh.
fun, but then after that, like the machines just kept getting broken, and
It was like
they
a
wouldn't-
dive bar, but for video games, and it was pretty
Yeah.
fucking
And all the
gross.
games are like from fucking the 90s and 80s.
I-
But
I
don't
enjoyed it
mind.
the first couple times I went, but then when I kept going back, like they didn't fix or update anything.
What
like-
was the video game bar downtown?
Joysticks?
Joysticks. Yeah, they got closed down.
Yeah, but that's a gimmick. That's like, so when you go to Arcade Monsters, they literally have like arcade machines that are
they
from.
had arcades at Joysticks.
Yeah, but that's a bar for
It's like Galaga,
arcade,
Pac-Man.
secondary.
Yeah, some of the people there were pretty grimy. Not gonna lie.
But yeah, that was super fun. And then obviously the 3D modeling thing. I'm working on something right now that I will either post tonight or tomorrow. It's a little drill from Gurren Lagann, so I modeled that
Oh,
out.
I hate that
Hell
anime.
yeah. What?
What?
Oh my god.
Spicy take.
Ryan, that is a hot.
I did not like Gurren Lagann.
You saw it all?
I saw I think three-fourths of it. I was not a fan. I was forcing myself to watch it just because of how much it got hyped up to me from every person that I talked to. Oh, this man's pissed. He's just taking a drink.
No, that's my favorite anime.
You say that about all the animes.
No, I saw that at such a formative time in my life, and it hit such a. If Julian Sanchez is in the chat right now, the two of us right out of high school, staying up to like 4 a.m, powering through Gurren Lagann.
Nah, dude, I did not fuck with Gurren Lagann.
Oh my god,
You like any of their animes? Studio Trigger,
What other ones did they do?
Kill a Kill,
Promare.
Darling in the Franxx, right?
Oh, Darling in Franxx was good.
I heard the ending of that was like
These all sound
pretty
mid
shit,
as fuck.
though.
It was all. These are all like the jewels of the anime community over the course of the last
I don't
10
think
years.
so, man.
Kill a Kill. Oh my god.
I've never
Kill
seen
la
Kill la
Kill.
Kill.
That's one of my favorites for
Yu Yu
sure.
Hakusho is my favorite anime.
Yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho was great.
Great
anime. The last arc got a little messy, but it was still
I agree.
good.
The demon tournament was a little weird,
That shit
but
was
everything before
wild.
that though was
Oh.
great.
No, not the demon
Fantastic.
tournament. The one after the demon tournament.
The demon tournament's the last one.
Is it?
That's the dark tournament you're thinking of.
Oh,
There's another tournament
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
very
yeah.
end.
Dark
Right.
Tournament's lit.
Yeah, no, the dark tournament. I will argue that is one of the
Lit.
best
that shit was
anime
great.
arcs.
Someone edited You Say Run over like the last
Oh
Spirit
my
Gun.
God.
Bro, that shit, I've watched that shit shamelessly in the middle of the gym, just like, yeah.
Jesus
It gets
Christ,
me pumped as fuck. Anyway, I rebranded the socials. Just trying to post more content, learn what it is to be, lean into your creative side, make things, kind of wipe the dust off for 3D modeling. So it's fun. It's a good time. Keep an eye on that. And then I feel like that's about it. Yeah.
Good shit, man.
Hell yeah.
Vega, take it away.
My turn. What did I do for the break? I didn't do a whole lot in terms of like going out, just obviously because of COVID. I also had my older roommates. They came down from Pennsylvania and they stayed with me for a couple weeks.
Shout out Harry.
Yep, Harry and Kristen. It was
Kristen,
great.
yeah.
It was great to see them. And then they went back home, back to freezing cold up there. What else did I do? Yeah, honestly, we didn't go out a whole lot just because of like COVID and all that stuff too. Was just trying to like stay away from that. Christmas, so I work like super early in the morning. I have to wake up at 5 a.m. to be at work by 6, which is cool because I'm off by 2. But it sucks if I ever have to like do anything. So I had to work on Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, New Year's Day, New Year's Eve.
Fuck that, bro. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean it happens.
No, yeah.
That's just adulting. But I mean, what else did I do over the break? I played a bunch of Metroid, which we're gonna be talking about today. Metroid Dread. I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy 14 actually.
You play Final Fantasy 14?
I've been enjoying it. I have a white mage currently. I think I'm like 2 levels away from 50.
What kind of mage?
A white mage. White mage.
Okay.
There's a black mage in there too.
Okay. Okay. Just making sure.
We got equal representation. It's okay.
That's good.
There's also red and blue.
What about green?
There is no green. Nope. No green. No green ranger.
Bro, what level are you?
I think I'm like 50, or excuse me, I think I'm like 48 or 47. So
That's the game that we played, right? During
Yes, yeah, we
during
gave
the
it a crack.
pandemic, because we were playing WoW, and then it was either you or you that said, "Let's play Final Fantasy."
It was me.
So I played it a couple times before, but I never got into it because everybody's always saying
Weren't you
like,
playing it with us?
I don't
No,
think so.
It was us.
I don't think
Glenn,
so.
Gene, Schmeckens, right?
I guess we're all playing 14.
Yeah.
When we were all grinding through Battle of Azeroth at the
Yeah.
like we were playing both at the same time.
Either way, I've been enjoying it a lot just because as a Final Fantasy fan, I've been enjoying a lot of the different references that are in there. Seeing like how they've kind of incorporated the job class system, from the very first game where you literally just don't even choose characters, you just choose classes. And then what is that?
Just keep going. I'm just scoot a little bit closer to me.
Oh, and then I also like it's that like, so I've played World of Warcraft for years. And whenever you play WoW, it's like, if you want to play a new character, like you have to, the new class, you have to start from level 1 and go all the way up to whatever the max level is. And in this one, at least, it's pretty cool because there's like a main quest storyline that you have to go through, which is a fucking slog.
It is, yes.
But whenever you're done with it, you're done with it. You don't need to do it again. You can choose any class or job on your character, which I really think is cool. So I tried like a couple of other ones just to try it out. I'll probably be playing it a little bit more.
Let me know when you get a Heavensward. I'm at the beginning
Casually.
of Heavensward.
I'm like almost there. I'm like a couple more quests from the end of Realm Reborn, and then I have to do like the in between.
You think you're almost there?
I've been like paying attention to the list. I pulled up a wiki. I'm not even gonna lie, and like I keep seeing like where I am in terms of it, and I thought I was done, and then McCrae actually, because he plays 14, I was like,
Yeah, I was watching a stream the other night. He was rating, I think.
yeah, and I was like, like once I hit the end of the main storyline quest, I could just go right into Heavensward, right? And he's like, no, you need to do all the like post game content that came out before you can go on. And I'm like, oh.
So you'll appreciate it because all the summons that you didn't see in the MSQ, you get introduced to in the post ARR stuff, but
which I think is super cool. Like all the summons are, I guess they're primals in this game or something. So I've been trying to pay attention to the story while trying to also like get through it.
Let me know when you get the HW.
I will. But I was gonna say because of that, I was actually really actually like I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it where I want to play through all the Final Fantasy games throughout the year.
Oh.
So I was thinking of doing. I was like, you know what, this is super cool. I think I'm gonna start it. Whether it's on my own channel or maybe we do it on like What's the Hype, kind of like in passive. But then I'm hoping that I can play all of them, and eventually I can lead to whenever 16 comes out.
Oh.
And then when 16 comes out, I can play it.
I feel like the timing would be if you started now, you could probably get through all of them by the time 16 rolls around.
So I've been doing my research on like what's like the best definitive editions to play, and all that stuff. Still trying to figure out like how far I want to go, if I just want to beat the storyline or if I want to do more, because Final Fantasy is kind of known for having a lot of post game content, which is always enjoyable. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and do that this year. Other than that, I'm just happy to be back in the saddle with the boys, recording 2022.
It's grind year.
It's grind year. I'm excited for.
It takes 1 year, one good year to change your life rapidly.
I think it's great, man. Like I remember we talked about this last year, just kind of throughout the year. Like, hey man, let's do a podcast. And we finally fucking
I feel like
did
it's
it.
grown a lot too in just a short time.
Oh, for
not
sure.
Not only my hair, because when we started this, I was buzz
Oh,
cut.
dude, same.
Oh yeah, that's
So-
true.
I appreciate the solidarity in that moment that you
Yeah,
did
it was
that with
it was
me.
a different time. It was a different time. I needed to show some support to the homies because I wanted to do it too because like I had blonde hair, but I just think it's funny that when we started, I had my hair was like completely buzzed, right?
Yep.
And then now we're getting some length, but I'm just gonna see how long I can actually grow it out.
You gonna
to.
get those luscious locks?
Yeah, definitely the luscious locks. Going to take better care of my hair. But with that being said, I would like to transition to the main topic for today.
Pokemon cards?
I wanted to go into. Do you want to do that first, or do we want to do Pokemon? Because I feel like
You want to do main topic first, or the
I
Pokemon?
wanted to do main topic first because there's a lot to say, and I was really interested in this. And then I want to have like this little fun bit at the end. with
Okay,
Pokemon.
we'll do
Okay,
it at the end.
all
We'll
right,
do it
cool.
at the end.
I'm down with
Okay,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Just as like a little intro, though. Apparently, there's like this 25th anniversary Pokemon TCG stuff that's going on. I already opened a pack. Robert said that
He got a Mew.
I got really good cards. I looked up the value. It was like 93 cents. He also paid like $400 for like this entire box from Japan.
Not 400.
And so I find that as someone that plays Magic the Gathering, I just think I understand the value of a card. I don't know if I would spend $400 for a box.
I just
that's a
wanted
lot.
to do it as like a fun thing. I feel like it'd be
400
fun
though?
at the end of the stream. We just open some
like
cards.
10% of
We'll
400,
play a
I'm pretty
game
sure.
where like we'll all open a pack and we'll all say what Pokemon we have, and then we'll all decide. And like a chat can kind of help out too, who we think would win
sure.
based on the
Unless
cards
you get
that
all
you
energy.
pull.
If you get all energy, then you're kind of fucked.
Well, then you're fucked. Just take yourself out, bro.
Okay.
Just take yourself out.
But, all right. So who wants to start us off with what we're talking about today?
So
Metroid.
yes,
Metroid
today,
Dread specifically, or Metroid?
Well, Metroid Dread was kind of like, I guess, the end topic of what we were going to go to, but I know we kind of wanted to touch on like
which
the
reminds
history
me-
of Metroid a little bit.
So as like the next step in developing this podcast, Robert and Vega and I were talking about what we can be doing to kind of help formalize like segments, I guess, for the game or for the podcast rather. And I think what we're going to be doing is we're all going to be kind of owning like a specific portion of a title, and we're going to do sort of a deep dive on it, maybe like 15, 20 minutes or so. And I think that's a really good idea. So for me personally, I'm going to be talking about the overall like just design of the game. Robert, I believe you're doing the art and the aesthetic, and then Vega, you're going to be doing like the audio and whatever other topics. So how do we want to start this off?
So I feel like just to expand on that, yeah, we did have a conversation after the last podcast, just to let you guys in a little bit about kind of what we could do to kind of combine all of our respective knowledges to like talk about something, which is like games and media that we like. So Ryan obviously went to graduate school for game design. He's been working at a AAA studio for the last 5 years. He knows about production. He knows about design. I've been studying art and game art for the better part of the last 5-6 years. And then Vega's been in music and audio for like a long fucking time. So, you know, essentially what we want to do is we want to take these games that come out that everyone talks about and we play them. And then we'll do like, again, like a little 10-15 minute analysis and from the perspective of our own kind of field. The way we start, I feel like we should just kind of bring up like the wiki or something like that. Let's just give it like a little crash course on like Metroid. Like
Metroid. I
There
mean,
are
I can kinda do
maybe
that.
there are people listening right now who have
Metroid-
never heard about Metroid.
Metroid's
or like,
one of my favorite like game series.
Give me
of
a
all time.
synopsis of what Metroid Dread is.
Metroid Dread or just Metroid in general?
Metroid Dread, because that's the title that we're really going to be talking about. I was particularly interested in doing it because it's a sequel to Fusion,
Correct.
and that was the one that I liked the most as a kid, which came out in 2002,
2002, that's correct.
I believe.
For the GBA.
Yeah, for the GBA, and I remember enjoying that game a lot. I
Great game.
remember the Parasite or whatever it was called. What is it?
The SAX, the X Parasite.
SAX. For my little kid brain, because I was 9 when that game came out. I just kept reading it as sex.
the sex.
And since it was a girl, I was like, girl and sex?
Whoa.
Whoa.
I love this game.
I dig it. Hitting puberty. But so I just know that I'll just say up front, I don't like the game.
Really?
I don't like it at all. And I'll get into that why. Just
Okay.
because I don't like it doesn't mean it's not a good game. But I think starting with just like some kind of synopsis.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Metroid Dread is pretty much, it's a direct sequel to Metroid Fusion, which we said came out in 2002 for the GBA. And if you don't know kind of like the whole kind of series of how Metroid works, basically Metroid is about Samus Aran, who's this bounty hunter. If you've played like any sort of Nintendo game, you've probably seen Samus before. And Metroid is basically these like bioorganisms that exist in the universe. And there's always people that are trying to basically use these organisms for their own cause, whether it's for like bioweapons, if the Federation wants to use them to create some sort of what's the word? They actually use like a Metroid as a vaccine in Fusion in order.
Yeah, that's how they cure.
That's how they end up curing her. We won't go too much into story with that, but just know that Metroids are these organisms that exist in the universe, and you pretty much are tasked pretty much throughout the games with kind of eradicating them all because they are a threat essentially to the universe. In Fusion, what comes around is that's basically after that was the most recent one in terms of like canon for the story. And Fusion. And then after that, the direct sequel is now Dread, which came out this year in 2020, or last year now technically.
Yeah, 21.
In 2021. So you think almost 20 years later, there was a sequel to the game.
But we've had titles in between then. They just have
We've
been
had, yeah. So like the Metroid Prime games have come out. That's like the first person shooters. If you've ever played any of those Metroid games, there was another one that came out, Other M, I think is what it was called. That was more like a third person kind of thing. But Metroid Dread was kind of a return to the original 2D kind of side scrolling adventure that Metroid is really known for from the NES days, the SNES days, and even all of that. So Metroid Dread is again direct sequel to it. You go into this planet called ZDR because you see that there is this video of an X parasite that's kind of floating around, and you're kind of like, whoa, what the heck is going on? And you're kind of basically sent directly to there to find out exactly what's going on, because these X parasites can essentially copy their host and multiply them like infinitely times. One of the biggest things throughout Metroid Fusion was Samus's power suit actually got infected by an X parasite, and that's where the SAX is. It's basically this thing. It's you essentially in your power suit with all your powers, all of your abilities, everything, chasing you around this area, and the game literally tells you, don't fight it. If you ever see it, run.
Yeah,
like,
just run.
You will not. You will get killed. You will die. Like it will. You are not equipped to battle it. And Dread kind of takes up from those breadcrumbs that I think, and the kind of concept that Fusion gave you that was really new to Metroid. I mean, before you were just Samus Aran, you were just this legendary bounty hunter.
The game always had like a spooky feel, or like it was more gritty or a little more edgy. But I don't think I would outright call any of the previous iterations like incorporate that kind of horror powerlessness.
Suspense kind of thriller, yeah.
I thought Prime kind of did that personally.
Actually, you're right. Yeah.
Prime, so because I've always felt that Prime, at least how we interpret a first-person shooter today, I felt that game in particular was certainly different, but obviously it was still a first-person shooter. And what I mean by is that you had a lot of puzzles that you solve with your gun. So I think some games that kind of riff off of that idea too is that Portal, so that it's still in a first-person shooter perspective and you still have a gun, but there's a lot of puzzles. And then same thing with Metroid Prime. I remember the first level, it's like teaching you how to lock on and how your missiles can do this, and then you can also use your grapple hook that way, all within one weapon, right? Whereas typically in the core loop of a first-person shooter, your guns have a specific role that it needs to fit. So like an SMG, that's going to be like a close range weapon. Whereas like if you're using a sniper rifle, you know what that's for. It's for long range encounters. But at least with Metroid Prime and just Metroid in general, that I do like about those games is that there seems to be some kind of quirk with each enemy. Yeah. Right? And same with the bosses. So I'll use Halo Infinite as an example. The bosses in that are bullet sponges. That's all there really is to it. There's some mechanics to it. But I know if you're fighting like Kraid or Ridley, there's like just some like little mechanic that you have to do, whether it's like you have to grapple to Ridley's tail or something. It follows a similar format to Legend of Zelda. Yep. Because whenever you go into a new main dungeon, there's always going to be some new equipment, and then that new equipment helps you defeat the boss. Right? And then in Metroid, it's all within one gun, which has always been pretty cool. But so talking about Metroid Dread, do you guys want to do you want to talk about the art first? Do we want to talk about the design first, or do we want to talk about audio, or like just our overall opinions of it? How should we go about doing this?
We'll do opinions at the end after we've all kind of presented or kind of scattered throughout your own kind of time with the mic. But we can kind of give like an overall take of the game at the end, and then I could spearhead it. We could talk about the art first, the visual kind of.
Sure. I love the animation.
Yes, for sure.
Absolutely loved it.
So Metroid Dread is the first Metroid game on the Switch. The last time you saw if you were to see the game or Samus kind of in the fidelity that she is now, it's from Super Smash Brothers, right?
Yeah.
It's like you had the jump in fidelity from Metroid. I don't know what was I think the last time we had a jump this crazy, I told us to Vega, was like the Metroid game that came out for the Game Boy Advance, and then you had Metroid Prime come out.
Yeah.
And that was a massive jump in like how people were used to
Fun
visualizing.
fact: I'm
Metroid.
pretty sure Prime and Fusion came out both in the same year in 2002.
I believe.
I'll double check that, but I'm
so,
pretty sure.
I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure.
Because
Which is pretty cool.
She didn't have a game in on the Nintendo 64, so this is that was the first time you saw her in 3D. And I mean, I remember at the time that game looking super awesome.
I remember it looking really clean.
So
too.
Prime came out in November of 2002, and then I know for a fact Fusion came out in 2002 as well.
So in my opinion, I feel like we have a very similar jump here because the last title I think it's from the same studio, but it was on the DS, I think.
The 3DS Mercury Stream. So
Exactly.
Samus Returns was a remake of the second Metroid, which was on the Game Boy. I think that was in '86. And yeah, that Metroid was, you were basically going around killing around all the Metroids, literally. Like you were trying to get rid of all of them.
So we see it's the same studio that made the last Samus game and this current one. But obviously the hardware limitations are a lot less severe on the Switch as opposed to the 3DS. So the game's in 60 FPS, which is super cool. I'll talk about animation first. So from an animation perspective, the game is super done super well.
All keyframed, or is it? Do you think there's any motion cap?
Can you
I don't think there's any motion cap.
quick kind of excerpt into what those things are for the people who might not?
Of
Mr.
course.
Artist,
Yeah.
go ahead.
All right, so game animation, you have 3D models, right? And within those 3D models is essentially a skeletal structure called a rig. And you set up the rig for every frame.
Basically like the joints.
Essentially.
Right.
And you'll say, like, this is the walk animation. And, like, most games are processed at 30 frames in 1 second. So that walk animation will have a certain position that it will be in every 30 of those frames, if it's like a 1 second walk cycle. But 60 frames essentially means that you have twice the amount of frames to be able to make much more smooth animations. So I think this is the first game that is 60 FPS. So you have a completely different level of fidelity that the studio was able to give Samus. I feel like this is really the game that she was able to be characterized the best, because before, being 30 FPS and also a lot of her games being on like handheld hardware, a lot of her animation and the way she came across had to be, I guess, very mechanical in nature. It was more based on like the controls and kind of navigating because of.
You also have to think about it. You were in those older games, you were in this big old clunky power suit. And then it isn't until Fusion and even this one where you get like the more kind of sleek kind of.
It looks a little more organic, a little more smooth for sure. So I don't think anything's mocapped. No, definitely not. Everything's hand animation, I'm pretty sure. So, you know, there's the walk cycle, the run cycle, how she's like crouches in and out of things. And it's really cool that like before we're like, you could just see like at the end and beginnings, especially with everything that she does, there's just more kind of like natural movement of the body. It makes her look a lot more human. Even then, like in the cutscenes too, like her character comes a lot like before. I mean, at least from my opinion, you play through a Metroid game and like you always knew that your character was a badass because of like her accomplishments and like, you know, the fact that she's a bounty hunter, you're playing the game, she does all these things. But when you talk about characterization, like I use Sonic the Hedgehog as an example. Like when you're playing the OG Sonic games and you don't touch the controller, even though it's a really old game, they had animations dedicated to like he would like stick out his butt.
Dude, I watched that entire hour and a half.
It was a good video,
all
man.
in one sitting. I was like, how long is? Oh wow, it's been an hour. Okay.
So when I say characterization, it's really cool that a game can have smooth animation and proper characterization because it makes you invested in the character. So before, I don't think we really got a lot of that in Samus. Samus was kind of like a blank slate character, and this is one of the first titles I feel like they actually gave her a lot more personality than usual. Okay. So I saw this more clearly in like the boss cinematics. So I played through the first, the two bosses. And I don't want to spoil anything about who they are, but essentially Like the way that
You
she
could say Kraid. Kraid's literally in like every Metroid game. He's like
Okay.
It's okay if we spoil some
So we'll
stuff.
do Kraid. So you encounter Kraid at some point, and Kraid is like thrashing about. He's getting all up in her face. Samus is like very cool, calm, and collected, and you kind of see this shot of like Samus small charging up a beam, and then Kraid opens his mouth, and she just fucking like pops him in the mouth, and like she the whole time she just stays super chill, but like there's like an aggressiveness there that I never saw. And it was really cool because I was like, oh, I really like this character. Like before, again, I feel like I kind of took on the role of Samus, whereas because the 60 frames allowed animators to make her a little more like, the fact that there's a cinematic where she's like pointing her gun at something and then she hears something behind her and she like turns her body.
Yeah.
But she keeps the gun on the player, and you could see like her analyzing constantly. Every time she walks in a room, she's like looking around, always analyzing and kind of seeing what's going on. Like she's like on edge all the time, but she's also very confident about where she is and how she carries herself into every room. So that is something that I feel like I played through all the Prime games. I played through Super Metroid, and I didn't play the previous installation, but anytime I played those games, you don't see cutscenes like that where like it's literally just like Samus walking into room, Samus walking out of room, Samus jumping, Samus falling, something happening to Samus.
I mean, even in Fusion, like there wasn't necessarily cutscenes like we think of them today, but there were just these little like kind of bits of animation that would happen that would kind of key you into what was happening. So like perfect examples in Fusion, you're in this space station. You have to go down to this main elevator shaft that goes to like where all these sectors are that you need to go through. And as soon as you go down, there's a simple cutscene of the SAX that breaks the door open, and it's like she's like walking. It is like walking very like coldly. You can hear the footsteps. Like it's very like click click click. Like very cold and echoey, and then it just does like a quick like kind of zoom in, and then you see like the blank eyes of like Samus that's in there, but it's not Samus, and then that's it, and then it goes on to like you playing. And I know we were talking about this on the way home from doing the photo shoot, that we were like, there's a lot more. There was a word you used it was really good, the way you explained it, that there was just more, I guess characterization is probably the word, but they have more like room to like do
it's
things
more
like
personality.
That.
The game has more, it offers a lot more in that capacity, which personally, that's how I like to play games. It's like the blank slate thing is there, but I feel like I've noticed that a lot of blank slate heroes that we grew up with are getting more of their own personality, like Mario and Link. Not even Master Chief, like before. I mean,
He has more voice lines in Infinite, I think.
Yeah, he did a lot more talking for sure. And then like in Breath of the Wild, Link is still a blank slate character, but that game has so much charm, and he's like the way he carries himself, how he looks at things. Like they actually there's a personality in there. It's not just boy with sword.
Right.
So it's really cool to see that they gave Samus that treatment. They're bringing her into this next generation of characterization. They're kind of making her stand on their own 2 feet. Now, for the other things, I thought the Emmys were all animated really well. The fact that each one of them kind of has like one of your previous like weapons or traversal things.
Yep.
Their animations are cool because there's whatever system they use in order to track you at like, I guess I got to talk minor spoilers here, but there are these robots essentially that live in these specific sections of each map, and you have to eventually get to beating them to absorb a power.
Yeah, the Emmys.
Yes. And so while you're in the Emmy zone, or the zone that they exist within that map, they're constantly chasing you. They're always on the prowl for you, right? So the game has to know where your location was and teach the Emmy to go to that location in the most efficient way possible. And the way that they move about, and they also all have their own unique way of moving, whether it's like rolling into a ball to get into small crevices, being super fast, so supercharging. It seems like it's procedural animation because it's like, you can't, that's not player input, right? It's reacting on player input in Samus's, and like that could be anything. Like, so it's really cool to see that that's obviously a very, very intense system that exists, because it's not like any other enemy that's just like on a track and it goes back and forth, or it's crawling up the wall, like it's constantly hunting you out.
I would assume that it's some form of conditional animation state machine that it's using. That basically just means that, so like when you're in, like just as an example, a sports game, there's tons and tons of animations, and it's pretty much taking into consideration the state of the game, and it'll go through conditions of what animation it thinks it should play at the right time, right? So like in the example that you're talking about, like let's say that you're, jumping diagonally up and left, and the Emmy is just like following you. So the animations that it plays is, I'm sure it's tracking the player's location. So it's saying, I'm probably going to play the upright climb animation because that's probably the best one. So I'm going to assume that they have a pretty good animation state machine.
Oh, for sure. Whoever the animators there are like, so in terms of priority, obviously Samus got the most of the budget, and I think the Emmys are number 2 for sure. Or Emmys are the bosses.
Yeah.
Because like essentially they send out their little ping, and then like you move, and then it's like, okay, I heard something in that direction. So it has to take into consideration the ping that you just moved from, what the obstacles in front of it, what the most efficient way of getting there is. And like those things are fast as fuck. Like I died to them constantly.
Yep.
So it's not like it's some clunky thing. It's a very, very fast operating thing that this thing can rapidly go from all these different positions in order to kind of hunt you down. And I thought that was done very well from an animation perspective. I thought all the enemy designs that I saw, they all fit within like the respective map. You had a nice deviation of like organic enemies that would throw like random curveballs at you, or you had to use like the counter mechanic, which is something that got expanded upon from the previous iteration. And then you had like more robotic enemies that would be like, I guess, more artillery focused, and you had to use like missiles to hunt them down because they're robots and stuff.
So I got an art design question.
Oh,
so do you feel that the art style instills dread?
I think that when you're the only time, at least from what I played, which is about half the game, the only time I felt, I guess, dread per se.
Can you give us a definition of dread too, Vega?
Of dread?
Just the word dread.
And
According to Google.
I know you're getting at like the box art is like you see this like very deep blood red like background behind Samus of like this creature.
All the different enemies. So dread, it means anticipate, or well, this is a verb. Anticipate with great apprehension or fear, and the noun is great fear or apprehension.
Do you feel that
fear,
the animation, the art style, the color scheme, the atmosphere, all that stuff? Do you feel that it instills dread?
I feel like if they, at least in its current iteration, no, I never necessarily perceived that in like the emotional vocabulary that I would use. I think that maybe if they kind of showed the brutality of the Emmys a little more, even though like when they
Nintendo game though.
Yeah, I know, that's the thing. They're kind of hamstringed in that capacity, but Dread, no, I would not say. But it was there. All they had to do was bump it up a little notch, maybe dedicate some resources to showing like the Emmys, and not just through like their interactions with Samus, but maybe like if there were some other sort of characters that you could see them being like pursued and like hunted down in some capacity, then I'd be like, oh shit, these things are serious. But you really only see the Emmys pop off when they get you, and it's like they just boot back up and run around. So there's that, and then
how far did you get in the game?
I got about halfway through.
And how far did you get?
I'm right at Kraid.
Okay.
I got enough in for me to understand what the core loop
Yeah.
is and all that stuff to talk about it. So
So the VFX I thought were really well done. All the weapons, all the colors associated with different traversal mechanics. I will say I think that the whip thingy was a little stupid, like how you just go up to a block and like whip it out. You know what I'm talking about, Vega?
The grapple beam?
No, it's
whip thingy.
There's like these little blue box, and like you just take like of all the tools that it gives you, like you need to unlock something in order to just like break the box or break the wall or whatever.
I think you're talking about grapple beam.
Yeah,
Is that what you're talking about?
I think so.
To like open the doors where you have to shoot it and then you have to pull it?
Yeah. Can you actually use it in like a normal grapple capacity, or is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, so it's kind of hard to say because there's a lot of things that are like with the different games that come out, they obviously try to reiterate a lot of different things. So like the grapple beam like is okay. So if you play like Smash and you see her grapple beam, you see this big electricity kind of staticky thing
awesome.
that comes out and it goes, you know, and then this game, it's kind of like this own little, it's kind of a more unique, like kind of very like, you know, simple beam that goes out, it connects, and then you can use it to interact with the environment. Which I mean, I don't know about you guys, but to me, I think like it's a way of taking something that's familiar but kind of like rehashing it so it's a little bit fresh.
Sure.
You know,
I always respect doing something new. I like the kind of bigger, more kind of like intense grapple beam, but I thought everything else is fine, very clean. You could really tell that with more frames, everything just looks so much more smooth and less rigid. And that's really what you're going to perceive in like the biggest jump in visual fidelity for sure. Everything is able to get like a little more when she shoots out a particle, and you have kind of like natural kind of bleed off from the particles releasing from her gun and then collapsing with whatever they hit. Whereas before it kind of just like shoot beam and then it interacts. Like there's just a lot more flourish and detail done with every single one of her weapons. VFX, characters. The world designs are really cool. Samus has always had like there's always like parallax in the background, right? The background's always like you have your main environment background, and maybe like older games it's just one. Kind of the newer iterations, it's 2 levels of parallax that you're kind of traversing in the background that you could tell like move along as you go left and right. There will be a little bit of that, but in 3D and in 60 frames, you have so many layers going in like volumetric frog. Like the first area, you're in like these caverns, right? You're in this purple cave. You're going around. The first layer of background is like these like rock structures and stalagmites, and then you have like another layer where it's like the canyon going back and kind of telling you how sprawling the caves are. And then in the very, very, very back, you have like the volumetric frog. There's like you can see like small little bats and critters that you could see that in the background before you even get to it in the game. Like before you even see these enemies. I noticed that in the first area a lot. If you pay attention, the first boss of the first area, you see in the background as you're moving around multiple times because he's got like an invisibility thing, but which I thought was really cool because you're foreshadowing this encounter, but some people won't even miss it because it happens really fast. You enter an area and then you'll just see kind of like the obfuscation of the invisibility kind of moving past things, and then he's gone.
You won't notice it unless you're looking for it.
For sure.
Which I think is cool because like they didn't have to do that.
No, for sure.
But it gives that little bit of extra detail.
I looked for similar kind of foreshadowing with Kraid, and I could not. At least I didn't perceive any. But that was really subtle in the first one, so maybe it was just lost on me. But I thought that was really cool. The storytelling through the background, again, like that's something that I don't think we've had in previous like 2D Metroid games that they obviously took the time to do now, which again makes you more invested in your traversal, kind of how your the environment that you're in. It distinguishes that and the boss, the encounter from every single other part of the map. So that was really cool.
I think this is the first Metroid game that I've played though that like the animations were just so smooth that I really felt like I was like really in control of Samus. When you play the other like GB, obviously it's 20 years ago, but like I never really had that sense of even in Samus Returns, even though it was the same studio, obviously there was a lot of things that they could have improved upon, and that they did in this one. But it just like for the first time I really felt like whenever you're like wall jumping or whenever you like slide under something, like before in other games you didn't have a slide, you had to stop, morph ball, then move. Like in this game, you can run, slide, automatically go into a morph ball, and it's like all one fluid motion.
Yes, yeah.
Which I thought that was super cool.
So she's got animations, so many transition animations coming in and out of so many of these movements that again, like you really won't notice unless you're looking, but it's what makes that difference. It's what makes it more kind of responsive, where before platforming was a little bit of a learning curve, but now it's just so much more natural because you feel like you have so much more control of her. Because you do. Because with 60 frames, again, like you're able to kind of communicate more to the player based on her movements, and you can make that bond stronger between like what I'm doing with my inputs and what you see on the screen. And I feel like from a visual perspective, that's about it. Oh, and I guess from a design, like just normal character designs, like her suit does change. It's different in this game. I like it. I feel like I kind of like the bigger clunky power armor just because that's kind of what I grew up with, but I like this new suit. It looks dope as it evolves. It also looks a lot cooler. Let me see. The Chozo, the guy that you see at the very beginning, I thought his design was very good. The one thing I will say about kind of character designs in Metroid is that like while they've all increased like a jump in fidelity, obviously everything looks phenomenal, like I'm not necessarily invested. I just don't know, like the games don't do a good job of communicating the importance of things and the background of things, maybe from a Samus perspective, but like Chozos and like or Metroids, like the virus and stuff, like playing halfway through the game essentially, like it feels like
this game doesn't do a good job of, if you haven't played in my opinion, if you haven't played any previous ones, I don't think it does a good job of familiarizing you with.
I wasn't necessarily invested in what I was doing. It just looked fucking great, and like I was along for the ride simply from from what was I experiencing on a raw like physical level, but like yeah, the Emmys and the virus and the Metroids. It's like there wasn't enough, at least from what I experienced, backstory there. Obviously, there are things at the end maybe I didn't get to see, but I mean, you played through the whole game and you were kind of dropping that. So that's one thing. Whereas other games, it's like you kind of have a payoff. It's like you have these characters that you spend a lot of money on to make look really good and feel really good, and you get to learn about them and you feel invested in them and you see them grow as you play through the game. Whereas you only really get that with, like, I think Samus, that Chozo character, you get backstory. And then the Emmys, I guess.
I will say it's not really until a decent amount in the game where they really give you like story and like it's like, oh, this is what's happening and this is why this is all happening. But that's just Metroid in general, honestly. Okay, so let me ask you this: if you had to choose two things, one thing that you thought they did really well, one thing you thought they did that they could have improved upon, what would you say? Put you on the spot.
So I will, from the previous game that was on the 3DS. And you could see a lot of these things that it's the same studio, right? Metroid Dread and what was the name of that title?
Samus Returns.
Samus Returns, same studio. So you had,
I think it was Mercury Stream.
Mercury Stream.
That.
You know,
Mercury Stream. Yep.
you have a much more powerful console, and you have a lot more frames. So just to see that, like, they made that game and this is the game that came afterwards, good on them. Because I mean, I could imagine it from like a budget and time perspective. It's like, okay, well, now we have the game's in 60 FPS. That's literally twice the load that we have to do now for everything. You don't have a choice. That's just the way the game's going to be ran. So I feel like they really, really rose to the challenge. We've talked about previous people. I mean, like, we kind of get Pokemon shit every now and then. Love Pokemon, but like
It's what deserved.
Yeah, they've are a mobile developer, and then they've kind of come into the console, and like we've seen the jump from things like, you know, 3DS Pokemon to Switch Pokemon, and we're kind of just like, it looks good, it's cute, you know.
Yeah.
But like,
well, you could do so much more, yeah.
especially with Game Freak, you know, they've been a juggernaut since the 90s. This is a relatively new studio. They had the same jump to take care of, and they handled it phenomenally. So good on them. The animations is definitely the best thing. The animation tied with the feel, because obviously you can't just have clean animations. You need good designers to implement them in systems in a way that make it responsive. One thing that I feel like they could do better from a visual standpoint, I guess I feel like they could maybe push variety a little more. Like, I understand that Samus or Metroid games have an aesthetic. It's kind of like space horror. You know, you have like caverns, lava area, water area, sciencey tech area, rainy area. But I don't know. I would like to see her and maybe that push a little further. With it, because I feel like it's kind of like she's in a little box right now. Like, if I played Metroid Dread, I had an idea of kind of what I was walking into from an area perspective. I feel like they did a great job differentiating between each area and giving it its own. I'm not saying that they all felt the same or it was samey, but I feel like from game to game, you kind of expect like the same areas. It's kind of like Legend of Zelda, where it's like there's always a fire level, there's always a water level, there's always a forest level, you know, like kind of stuff like that. And like, granted, Breath of the Wild had those things. I thought all those specific zones and how they were developed was great. But it's like, I would like to see Samus.
Isn't that a common thing though with like many like first party Nintendo titles though, where it's like you kind of have this thing and it's like they're like, okay, we like this, so we're just gonna like rehash it, like rebuild upon it.
They got a
and,
system.
like,
if it
classic
ain't
Nintendo.
broke, don't fix it. I
no,
get
absolutely,
it.
absolutely.
But I would love to see Samus in maybe a new environment, something new that still fits the theme, but it's something that might be a little bit of a risk, I guess. But like, that's just my one thing from a visual perspective. It's like, I got everything I expected. I would have loved to see something that I didn't expect from an environment design standpoint, but I'm not saying that, nothing against the quality of what I saw. It's just, yes, it was a Samus game through.
Well,
and
what
through.
you would have preferred to see.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Word.
All right.
I dig it. Yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed it a lot. Do you want to go? You want me to go? I feel like Ryan's just gonna shit on the game.
Well, since we're you want to leave
All
me
right,
off with
there we
that.
go.
No, so we'll go ahead and do a deep dive, at least like from my perspective, on the design side of things. So, are you guys familiar with the Bartles player types?
The what?
I
I'll take
definitely
that
learned
as a
about
no.
them, but take us through it again.
Okay, so the Bartles player types is
Bartles
basically
player types,
it's I forgot what the term is, but there's basically 4 types of players that he breaks down: achievers, socializers, killers, and explorers. So, me personally, I'm on the killer side of the Bartles player types. I like to kill other people. I'm competitive. I like to let people know that I am better than them.
PvP.
Right? PvP.
Okay.
So, when I was thinking about what Metroid in general is, I feel like it falls under the explorers player type. And the reason I say that is because in design, you want to establish the core loop of the game and be able to easily communicate it to someone else. So if I were to do an example for Metroid Dread, I would say that it is explore, kill, upgrade, because those are the main three things that you're doing throughout the game. So you're put into an area, you have to explore, you kill a boss, you upgrade your suit. And that loop happens over and over and over again. So that's the main reason why I didn't like that game, because this is not a game for me. And that's not a bad thing. I'm just simply saying, if I were to go out of my way to play this, I would not enjoy it. It has nothing to do with the game being bad. So I think from a explorer standpoint, it does justice for that player type. Does it do enough different? No, but that's also not a bad thing, because when you have an established franchise like Metroid, there is an expectation of what the player is going to play. Like if you went into Metroid Dread and it's all of a sudden an RPG where Samus's level is 1 and you have to go to a shop and buy upgrades and stuff, and that's how you do it, I don't think it would be met well. I think there'd be a lot of criticism.
For sure.
I played the shit out of that game though, but you're right.
Right. Well, that's the type of
Yo,
game.
Metroid RPG, sign me up.
Yeah, I'm about it.
But so I'm just saying that because I personally didn't like the game because there are too many instances where I would put it down. The next day I would go to play it and I'm like, oh, fuck, what do I do? And I would just go in a circle of where do I need to go on the mini map. I thought the mini map navigation was awful. I had plenty of times where I would set a marker and I have no idea how to get there. And the other thing that always annoyed me about these types of games is probably what explorers love the most is that. So when I go to the second area, so remind me what the first area is called?
I think it's Arteria.
So Arteria to the one that starts with a C?
Cataris.
Cataris. Okay. I go to Cataris. I go to the right because that's clearly the way I need to go.
We were talking
it's a
about the
thermal
same
stop.
exact thing.
It's thermal. I'm going to die in here. I need to leave. And I'm like, so do I just go back? So I literally went back and I'm walking around for 30 minutes. I had to look up a video to see like, I shoot the fucking wall.
Yeah,
Same
that
thing
was fucking. I hated that.
We were literally
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about the same exact thing.
So the thing is, I was annoyed. I didn't want to play the game anymore because there's too many instances where I had to shoot something to get to progress. And granted, that is not something new. Nintendo's always done that with a lot of the titles. It's been in Metroid for as long as I can remember, because I remember that shit in like Metroid Fusion.
Yep.
So for me, Ryan, I don't like the game, but I can acknowledge that they do a lot of things really well. So like I said, with the core loop, I think that the explore, kill, upgrade is really good core loop for them to have for this game. Overall, I was thinking about what the game should be called, because when you're talking about design, the words and the names that you pick matter a lot, because people have a preconceived notion of words or just things, and that plays a part in the type of game that you're going to be playing. So if I tell you that this game is called Metroid Dread, I immediately think that there's going to be some level of fear. When I was fighting the Emmys, the little robots that chase you, I was annoyed. I got killed by them constantly. I wasn't scared of them. I was annoyed of them.
Okay.
And when I was thinking about what the enemy design should be like, and I just kept thinking about Fusion, because the SAX, I was fucking scared of that.
Oh, yeah.
So I think if you flip the name of the games and the one that came out in 2002 was Metroid Dread, that's much more appropriate, because in Metroid, in the actual Metroid Dread, when you kill an Emmy, for some reason, it gives you a part of your suit or something.
Here's your power up.
And I would consider that to be more fusion. You're fusing with whatever you killed.
Yeah, because the story for the Emmys is that they are beings that essentially can absorb any organic substance. And
Yeah, and they can kill anything.
Exactly.
So that's why they sent it to that planet to go check out the X parasite. But so why is it that they have pieces of my suit? Right.
That's
so
another thing.
There was like a level of disconnect for me personally. So I think if the 2002 game was called Metroid Dread, because that thing was fucking scary. The SAX was fucking terrifying. And then in the 2021, if that was called Metroid Fusion, I just think that makes more sense from a design perspective because as I'm killing things, I'm getting upgrades and I'm fusing with them in my mind. But
I agree. I
that's
agree
also
100%
a loop
actually.
that is pretty common in Metroid. So
I was gonna say, yeah, it's like it's. I understand exactly where you're coming from because I didn't even think about that until you said that. It's very true. Like that's just kind of the loop in Metroid.
Yeah,
you,
it's
you
always
kill
been a loop.
boss, you get a thing, and in this game, it's like you have these enemies that are chasing you across all these different locales, whatever, and then finally when you get to it and you kill it, it's like you absorb it. I think they explain it in the game, but they don't explain it very well. It doesn't make a whole ton of sense either. You just know that like enemies are sent there, and then it's like all of a sudden the first enemy starts chasing, and you're like, okay, what the hell? Apparently, like they have control of these now, but
yeah.
they never really give you a good reason as to why like you get speed booster when you kill one of them, or
Yeah,
why
or
you
you
get
get the-
ice missiles when you kill one of them.
you get the fucking invisible thing
The
later on
cloak.
too. But that's cool too. And I just felt that there's like a disconnect there. So take it as you will. I can understand why people would like disagree with what I'm saying, but whenever I went into the Emmy zone, I was more like, "Ugh, God, I have to go through this thing again. I wasn't scared. I was just gonna annoy because I know I'm gonna die to this thing like 6 different times. And then it's like, well, you have 2 chances to counter it, and I would fuck it up every single
Every
time.
time.
So I'm just like, oh my God, this shit's just, it was just annoying to me. So I don't think that the game in general instills dread. And that's usually like a really important thing that you need to consider when you're playing these games, when you're naming them. That's why I asked you that question about, do you think the art style reflects dread? And I personally don't think that it does either. So I think that's a demerit off.
Yeah,
right?
because like the only time you really see that dread is like when you're in the Emmy zone before you kill the Emmy, and like there's that grainy kind of like texture over everything.
They tried to do that. And yeah, I agree. That type of like lens filter, I guess.
But that's the
They're
only.
trying to help with the dread.
Outside the Emmy zone, I thought all the environments were beautiful. Everything was very clean looking. Not necessarily dread.
Typically
Yeah.
Metroid typical game, yeah.
Yeah, so I did think that is something that they probably could have done better. Not even just like picking, like if they changed the name of the game, that might have even helped too. But this is me like trying to be as precise and like persnickety when
Bro,
it
that's
comes
what
to
we're
the
here
design
for.
stuff.
Yeah.
But so the other thing that I wanted to talk about is, let's see. Talking about the dread and how I don't think it instills it that much. For the overall character encounters, I personally felt like they did a great job of introducing different types of enemies. I never felt like I was fighting the same thing over and over again.
Yep.
So as an example, the little things that are like flying around that are like really twitch based and they would come close to you and then you can bash them away. That enemy felt very different from like the little missile thing that was in the ground, and when it would hit the ground, lava would come up. So I felt that they did a really good job of incorporating different types of enemies to encounter. Does it necessarily instill dread? Maybe, maybe not. But I just felt that I was never getting tired of the type of enemies that I was going to encounter, right? So, like as an example, when I'm in the Emmy zone, there's like those little robots that fly around. You can't kill them with your normal blasters, so you have to use like the missiles, and it gives you a shit ton of resources. So that was always cool. I thought that when I'm exploring a new area, there's like the ground would like rumble a little bit, and then like a little snake thing would come through.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, okay, that's kind of cool.
The enemies also scale in difficulty as you get through the game.
Right.
I was gonna say there's a pretty important part in the game where you go to. I'm gonna spoil it. Where you go to and you basically unlock like all of these X that were trapped on this planet per se, and then just like in Fusion, where it kind of takes everything over in the entire space station, it does that for the entire planet. So everywhere you go to, it is now infected by X, and now all the enemies change. Like their color palettes change. Sometimes their movesets change a little bit. They have a little bit of a different like AI.
Yeah.
So
Different behavior. I thought they did a really good job with the creature encounter, though. I do think that there was enough variability to where I wasn't getting tired of like the type of editing that I was going to see. So I give that team a lot of kudos for taking into consideration what types of enemies we would encounter. I want to talk a little bit about the Emmy encounters too, because I was trying to follow the story the best that I can, and normally in Nintendo games, they usually have either 2 ways of telling a story, at least in like the games that I've played. It's either I'm talking directly to you and you have no voice at all, you just listen, or it's through environmental storytelling, right? So I hated the storytelling in this game, but then again, this isn't a game for me. So I don't think it's fair of me to say that this is a bad thing about it. But when you go through the opening cinematic, I had to watch it twice because I didn't understand how I went from like my Varia suit to like this blue one.
I was confused too.
And I thought I missed something. So I watched the cutscene again on YouTube, and it's like, I didn't miss anything. So it's literally we're fighting something, and it kind of fucks me up. It grabs me, and then I just wake up, and I have like a lesser suit. Why didn't it just fucking rip me to shreds? You know what I mean?
I had thought in that moment that like the X virus fused with you in some capacity to give you that suit, but then I brought that up to Vega, and he's like, no, that's just you lost all your power-ups, and that's it.
I think that was weak. I think that was a weak way to show that.
They explain a little bit later on, but they don't explain it too well.
Okay. But so maybe that could be helping with the Explorer player type in that you don't know what happens, so you have to explore and find out.
It's all up to imagination, I would imagine, probably.
So is that a good or bad thing? For my player type, I think it's an awful thing. I didn't understand what was happening, and I thought it was kind of lame. I know that as you're going throughout the game too, I thought that the
time check, we got like 30 minutes left.
Okay. I thought that there was a good amount of save points. I never felt like I was getting too far and I had to save again. I thought there was a fair amount of replenish stations and like missile replenish stations, whatever. The thing that also bothered me, so not only was that I didn't have something telling me what to do in order to progress. So obviously you have to explore, and again, follows with the Bartles player type. But I hated the fact that it let me go to the next area, and so it goes Arteris, the one that starts with a C, and then what was this? The third one? It's when you get the wide beam.
Ferenia, Berenia,
Millennia.
I think that's those are two places, Ferenia and Berenia.
Oh, okay.
I'm surprised you guys were able to remember the names.
I think it's Ferenia.
It's lost on me. But I know what you're talking about.
But so anyways, the thing that I would consistently get annoyed of is I'm used to being in a world, and when you go to the next world, that means everything is done in the first world. Whereas in this one, I would go to like the second world, and it's like, okay, here's a new type of door. And there was 3 beams, right? So there's 3 locks, and it was in an Emmy zone. And I'm like, okay, this is when I was the most annoyed with the game. So I get to it, and the Emmy's chasing me, right? So I get to the bottom of the floor, I see the door, and the Emmy is like coming down. And it's like, I shoot the top one, and it kind of lights up if you shoot it fast. So I thought I had to shoot them all really fast. But the thing is, I can't like lock on to a certain angle to get it fast enough. I had to have spent 10 minutes to finally understand that, okay, that's actually not what I'm supposed to do. This is for a specific type of gun. And I was just annoyed. So I would have to go to the next area to unlock that gun, then go back to the other area. So, and again, when I would place a marker on the map, that was pretty much useless. I had to open up my mini map, reorient myself, and go to the area that I think I needed to go to. So if I didn't look up what to do, I would have been lost for at least like an hour straight. And I just didn't know what I needed to do. So that's why I just felt like with their system, it could be that they're intentionally doing that. So it's encouraging you to explore. Maybe they purposely made it so that the marker system sucks. Because they could have easily made it to where, like, let's say that I put a point specifically in a map. And when I go back to like the normal gameplay, there's like a little arrow that shows me go this way, right? So like if I'm in a place where I can go top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right, I put a marker, there's just an arrow that tells me to go here.
Yeah, or like a little trail
I would
follow,
like
something like that.
That's what I would like in the game. But I don't know if that would necessarily follow with the Explorer player type, because the whole point is for you to explore, right? So I can understand why that design decision, they wouldn't want that. And it could be like a quality of life / making the game a little bit easier. One thing that I did like, I didn't think that these games have gotten easier over the years as opposed to Pokemon.
I
feel like this game is just as
from
difficult.
a difficulty standpoint, where would you place this game?
I think it's where it should be, honestly.
Because I actually want to respond to something you said earlier about save points. So in previous Metroid games, if you died, you respawn at your last save. You go to the main menu, start all over again.
Auto saving in this game.
A little bit, yes. But in this game, you have your save points. But if you ever die for something, you could just press A and you restart and you go back to the same area that you were before, which I think is super cool, because that, to me, in a game like the Switch now, and we're in more modern times compared to when the game came out almost 20 years ago, the last one, where if you like, whenever you get to save point, that's a spot where you know you can like, okay, stop and take a break. Whereas like before, you would have to go and keep searching for save points, and that was kind of like your safe haven. But now it's like you're not really too worried about going and exploring these places because it's like, okay, if I die, I can press A and I can kind of restart. So like something you were talking about a lot is like I died a fuck ton of the enemies too.
I died a fuck ton.
And the game really like tells you like don't try and you know memorize or try and like figure out how to like you know counter it because it's very difficult to like don't rely on it and you know the AI tells you that very 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 specifically and it even like tells it in like bold letters, but I always found myself trying to like do it, but then it was okay. It's like fuck, I couldn't do it. Okay, fine, I'll press A and then I'll redo it all over again, which I thought was cool. It made it more of a because if I would have kept dying in those Emmys and then had to go back to my last save point,
fuck that.
I probably would not have beaten the game honestly.
Yeah, so there's two things. Oh, I forgot one of them, so hopefully I remember it. But I wanted to talk about like some of the Emmy encounter. So obviously, I already said I didn't feel scared or dread or fear or anything when I was counting them. I was more so just annoyed. But I don't know how I feel about how you kill them because it seemed like you would always come to an area and there's like this big eyeball that you have to kill, and then for some reason when you touch that, it fuses with you and you get like the energy,
The hyper beam.
The Omega Blaster.
or their Omega Blaster to kill it. So
You get the smash ball.
all the more reason to call it Metroid Fusion. But anyway, so when you would go to kill them, I felt like each time that you went to kill it, it was the same. So it would always have to be get to like a long enough hall and blast the face until the red
armor
color
breaks off, yeah.
breaks, and then you have to do a charge shot.
You had to kite them essentially.
Yep.
Yeah. So I only killed I killed 3 of them. Is that how you have to kill each of them? Is you just keep shooting the face
Yep.
until okay. I think that they could have done something different in terms of how you kill it. And I feel that whatever piece of equipment that you got, you could have maybe used it in some way to kill it for
Yeah.
the next one, right? So that's like a bang bang design decision if you wanted to change the way that you kill it. It could have been like a time crunch thing in that, you know, we can't like
I think
dedicate
instead
that
they
much
focused
time.
it on like having them have different abilities that you know like you can get from them.
Yeah. So that's just like something that I pointed out, and there could be a ton of reasons why they did or didn't do it. So that's just something that I wanted to point out. And like I said, I didn't overall really get the storytelling. I felt that there were too many times where the immersion was broken. So when I say immersion, I'm just saying the level of feel that a player has of that they're in the world. They feel like they're Samus, right? I felt like there was too many times where it broke it. Similar to what you were saying when, you know, your computer or whatever would say like, don't attack it. Don't do anything. It's not worth it. Same thing with like that, the thing that sounded like it had a vocoder filter on it.
Adam.
The
Yeah,
AI.
yeah, the big AI thingy. It's pretty much just saying like, don't waste your time. It's going to kill you. Just run, get back to your ship or whatever. You know, bang, bang.
Yeah,
could have been done better.
It's talking to her, but it's talking to you.
It's talking to you. It's not talking to Samus.
Yeah.
Right. So again, just like a bang bang thing that could go either way. In my opinion, it felt like it was breaking the immersion a little bit, but you know, overall not that bad. And just like as a game in general, I think it does the job for what an explorer who plays Metroid. I think it checked all the boxes that it needed to. And I don't think that it strayed away from the formula enough to where I would find it interesting. But when I make that argument, I use that same argument against Pokemon, and I don't want them to change the formula. So that's the perspective that I'm trying to take, because they're making this game for people that like exploring and like playing Metroid, and they can't really break away from that formula. So overall, you gotta get some WD-40 on that bad boy. Overall, there are some things I think that can improve, but I think it's a very, very solid game. Like you said, from the art perspective.
One thing it did best, one thing it did worse.
I think the best thing
From a design perspective.
from a design perspective, from the Explorer, I would say the amount of like little things that you could find to like shoot, like when you get the magnetic thing or the magnetic thing that you can spider, whatever. So there's like this little piece where like if I shoot the top corner, it's like, oh my god, I can go through there. It's like, oh my god, there's an energy tank. There's plenty of that. The games have been doing that forever.
Get your little dopamine hit.
Yeah, so I think they did a phenomenal job of playing to that, to the Explorer's player type. And then also just like the encounter design. just like the normal enemies that you face throughout the game, I think they're different enough and interesting enough to keep me wanting to see what I was going to fight next, I guess. And the thing that I dislike the most, it's hard for me to say because I'm not in that player group. So I can just say the thing that annoyed me the most is I hated backtracking after getting an upgrade. I just could not navigate effectively to where I felt like I made meaningful progress. And I hated the fact that if I put the game down and did something else, I would not be able to progress unless I watched a video. Like I had to find out, what do I do after the morph ball? What do I do after the beam? Because I would play for 2 hours, I would get an upgrade, and I'm like, okay, that's a good stopping point. But I would find myself too often thinking, well, I have to watch a fucking video. I don't want to have to watch a video to progress. I just want to play the game.
I will say, like, getting into a new zone and the only way you progress is by shooting a wall in an elevator room was like, that kind of shook me because like every time I got into a new place after that, it's like I had trust issues. It was like, I don't know where to go.
There's too many times where I just wanted to put the game down. So that's why I knew I didn't like it. So, but again, the game's not for me. I think if there was like a person that understood the Explorer player type better than I do, they could probably point out what's actually bad from their perspective rather than from my perspective. So take what I'm saying with like a very big grain of salt.
All right.
So we don't have too much time left, so I won't go too much into depth because we still want to do the Pokemon cards and kind of wrap up at the end. Are you really going to the bathroom right now?
No.
You want to talk about sports? Is the MLB still on a lockout?
They're supposed to be talking about it Thursday, but
The season starts in spring, right? Because spring training.
pitchers and catchers are supposed to report in 30 days.
It's not going to get done, dude. When the NBA lockout happened in 2011, it's not going to.
I think there's definitely going to be some games missed, and unfortunately, that is what's going to take
You
for
guys
the
play
owners.
like 180 games though. Is that really that
32.
bad?
Yeah, they really don't need to. So the problem with baseball though is that it's a game of averages. So you kind of have to have so many like. You don't have to have as many games, but the way that the sport is, just kind of the nature of it, you do kind of have to. It's not like football where you can just play once a week and go on to the next week.
So playing 160 some games is the magic number in order to determine whether a team is better than you or not. Like that's how many games from a record standpoint.
Absolutely. When they have it,
Really?
when they have a playoffs as small as they do. So in playoffs, they only have 8 teams that make it out of 30. In NBA, it's literally half the
16.
league. Yeah,
More than half.
Yeah, because there's 30 teams.
There's 30. Yeah.
And
so
in
16.
NFL, I think they just expanded the playoffs last year to now where there's 14 teams. I think.
Yeah, out of the 32.
So like, and in MLB, there's only you win your division. Because there's 3 divisions in each league, and then there's a wild card, and that's it. Like so you kind of have to find out. Rebecca, you kind of have to like have that many games. Maybe not exactly 162, but you definitely need a large volume of games.
Are my Marlins going to be good?
I don't know. They have a lot of good pieces, man. Like they have a really good pitcher. Alcantara is his name. Super solid. I mean, you have Derek Jeter as your owner.
Go Red Sox.
I mean, that doesn't mean shit.
And I'm going to mute Robert's microphone. Okay, getting back into Metroid Dread.
Yeah. Because you said you loved this game.
I loved it. So I'm a big Metroid fan in general. I'm just a big fan of Metroidvania games in general. If you've ever heard that term before,
Tell the people.
Yeah, so Metroidvania, if you think of a game like Metroidvania is obviously from Metroid and Castlevania, and the whole point of the game is kind of what it is. You're this character in this large kind of world. You kind of have to backtrack and go to all these different places. And there's a ton of games nowadays that are kind of based on that. Great example is Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Ori,
Dead
whatever.
Cells, Rogue Legacy.
There's so many games now that take after that formula, and it's very clear that when they made these original games, there was something that I kind of stuck to, and they still stick to these days. So in terms of like audio, I won't go too much into depth because I also do want to talk about a little bit about like kind of where this game has kind of come from. You touched on it a lot. One of the main things I was going to talk about was the Emmy zones. Whenever you went into an Emmy zone, you knew you were in an Emmy zone because the music changed, the whole sound frame changed. You had this kind of like these like cascading like like these little noises that you can tell were from the Emmy, like trying to search you out. And like, I think it's good that we have these discussions because there's a lot of things that I didn't actually pick up until like you guys kind of mentioned. I'm like, man, you know what? You got a good point. So like whenever the Emmy would notice you because it kind of has like this basic sonar kind of ability, and that's how it can kind of sense you out. And like it would like you would hear like the kind of like it was like a lock-on noise, and you'd be like shit, and then the music would start like it would change, and it would start chasing you and all these different things. So I mean, there's not a lot that has like changed from the older games per se. Something that I noticed is that obviously all the other Metroid games I played on handhelds. You know, this is the first game I was able to actually sit down in front of a TV and play kind of a 2D Metroid kind of side scroller thing.
I mostly played it on my Switch, like this.
Yeah.
So I felt like it was still a handheld.
So
game.
yeah, okay, so yeah, but to me, like that was a new experience for me because again, I'd always played on like Game Boy Advance or whatever. So it was
The surround sound system.
yeah, so it was
you
cool
really
to just
hear
kind of
everything.
throw it on and listen to that. You know, there wasn't really anything that kind of stuck out to me in terms of like the music, in terms of like emotional investment, because that's not their key thing. It's not like it's. What are you gonna say?
So from a music perspective, you could probably commentate on this the best since you've played the most of the games. I feel like the audio is kind of more atmospheric. Like there
Yes,
weren't like
that's exactly what I
themes
was
to
gonna
kind of
say.
grab on.
Yeah, and like
That's
when you
always been that way.
even when
Yeah.
in a sense,
I think so.
I think like if did I ever send you that video about Metroid Fusion and like how the sound design for it is? Okay, so I think in Metroid Dread, what they obviously tried to do was they tried to. It's a direct sequel to Fusion, so they tried to bring a lot of those elements in there. You know, the whole kind of like. Now that you mention it, I can kind of see like maybe dread probably wasn't the best word for this game. But the game kind of like it's like okay, you go in, you fight this guy, and now the AI, he's like, okay, you're literally at the bottom of this planet. You need to make your way up to the top, and it's like, and run because you don't got shit on you, you know. So all the different areas that you go into, yeah, they have their own themes, but it was again more atmospheric, like you say. In Fusion, the big thing was like if you ever got into a room where the SAX was, the music was purposely cut so you could hear like the cold, slow footsteps that you were taking.
You feel
in that
dread.
one. Yeah, and in this game, you don't really get that. Like you can kind of hear the Emmy kind of running around and stuff like that, but it was really more like I think the main thing to me was whenever you entered an Emmy zone, is that's when it was like the presentation changed because it was like kind of like grainy. The music there's no music. It's just kind of like this kind of atmospheric auric kind of sound, and that you can hear him like kind of walking in the background. And I think that's
You see like the clink and clattering of him like touching against the metal, and like
I think
his
it's
little,
a stylistic. I think it's a stylistic thing.
I did want to say one quick thing that I forgot to mention, and it kind of ties into everything that you guys talk about. So I talked to you about this, but are you familiar with what emergent gameplay is?
Maybe not the term, but maybe explain to me what it means.
So emergent gameplay is just a way that designers, it's a term that they use to describe interactions that come from basic mechanics.
Okay.
So let's say that, just like as an example, I can shoot this enemy that rides a horse. And when I shoot him, or I have my grapple beam, and my grapple beam just takes me something closer. So now this grapple beam, when I shoot it at the horse, I kick the guy off and I can ride the horse now, right? So it's a simple mechanic, but some cool stuff can happen. Possibly like a far-reaching explanation would be in League of Legends. Do you think that they know what happens when Scion gets 40% CDR and it has this specific build? Do you think that they can figure out every single combination that's going to happen in the game?
Like a person? No.
Exactly. So there's constraints that they have to use as well to make sure that those things don't get broken.
Right.
I thought that there was a lot of cool emergent gameplay moments in Metroid Dread. One particularly when you talk about the slide, that's just you trying to get to like a new area. And I had this cool moment where I was getting chased by an Emmy, and I was trying to juke it. It was almost like an ankle breaker moment for me because I was jumping up on ledges, but the thing can just go vertical.
Yep.
Right. So it just like climbs and then it rotates, and then it can just keep doing that. Right. Whereas I have to like jump like this.
Yeah.
So I basically what I did, I had to jump up. It climbed up here. I went back down, and as it was going down, I slid under it.
Yeah.
So that's just like a simple mechanic, but it was a really cool thing for
How you
me
apply it. Yeah,
to
yeah.
apply it. Because normally it's just I'm trying to get around faster.
Right.
Now it's
You're
like
actually using it to dodge something.
I'm
yeah.
using it to dodge. So it's a simple mechanic. And a lot of the times the emergent gameplay isn't something that the designer can account for, right? Like when they were talking about what's the slide for, they probably had a bunch of uses for it, but let's let the user figure out what.
I feel like it's kind of like
best-
more the cohesive, like kind of glue that kind of.
Yeah, it's a glue thing.
keeps
Yeah,
things
that's a good way to
together.
put it. But that's another thing I thought the game did well. There's a lot of cool emergent gameplay things that happened.
One thing I did really like was the evolution of the sounds that like your different weapons would make. So you start the game, you have your regular beam. You don't even have charge beam, nothing like that. Then you get charge beam. You can start to hear it like kind of charge up whenever you get it. Then you get wide beam, you get plasma beam, so on and so forth. And every time you get an ability, it like you can tell that it's different because obviously the way that it looks, but also the way that it sounds. You know, it's not some rinky dinky ding ding ding, you know, like little blaster. When you get when you have your full like plasma beam, wide beam, all these different things, and it's like,
Yeah,
you know,
it
like
punches.
yeah,
It's
you know,
punchy.
so like that's definitely something which I thought was really cool. I thought it was just super awesome. Like I went to this game thinking like, man, the last time I played a 2D Metroid game was Samus Returns, but in terms of like the story, is Metroid Fusion, which was again almost 20 years ago. So I tried to take a lot of those things because it was a direct sequel into it, and I think a lot of the things that they, what's the word? A lot of the things that they acted upon, I guess it was just interesting to see like the evolution of a game from that came out on this tiny system to now I'm playing it like on a big screen TV. You know, we don't have a whole lot of time left. We probably have like 10, 15 minutes. So I just wanted to touch on a couple things. This game, I think, a cool thing about this game. So this game has been in development hell since the Nintendo DS era. It was supposed to actually come out, I think, in 2005 originally. It was in development hell, just like Metroid Prime now is. That's a whole different story. But they would always like the main director of the series. I forget what his name is. It's like Yakaguchi or something like that. He was always he would work on it, and then he didn't like the kind of like the art style that it would happen, or he just didn't like how the way it would be presented. So for years, this game was in development hell, and it wasn't until Samus Returns where they kind of had. We use this term a lot in here, proof of concept for like having a new like 3D, I guess 2.5D would be the correct term here because it's like 3D aspect, but it's in a 2D like plane of movement and stuff. And then obviously you have Metroid Dread, which comes out for the Switch. It's got new upgrades and all these different things. For as long as this game was in development hell, it came out, it got really good reviews, and it won Best Action Adventure Game at the Game Awards. And I mean, other games, here, let me see if it'll look up like, what are some other, what's the word I'm looking for?
Awards?
Not awards. Nominated. There we go.
Gotcha.
Nominations.
Oh, like what it was up against.
Yeah. So best action adventure game. So you had Guardians of the Galaxy.
Which I've heard really good things about.
I did hear really good things about too. Psychonauts 2.
Very good game.
Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Resident Evil Village. These are all like top tier AAA games. It's not to say that Nintendo isn't a AAA game, but I mean, like, you think of all these games, it's like brand new PS5 system hardware, like the highest fidelity you can think of. And this one, like, kind of handheld, kind of based game, one action adventure, best action adventure game of the year at the Game Awards.
It's nice to see a game come out of development hell and come out on top because you don't see that often.
Exactly. And as someone who's a big fan of Metroid, I've played all the Metroid. I still do, like, every now and then, like I'll just pop in, like I still have my own like Super Nintendo. I'll pop in Super Metroid and play it every now and then. That's a fucking hard game. But it's kind of it's awesome just to see like to know kind of where you come from for your roots, and then you come to now, and to see that it's done so well, which I think is awesome. I hope that bodes well for Prime 4, because Prime 4 was being worked on by Bandai Namco before they actually ended up nixing it a couple years ago, and they started all the way back over from Retro Studios, which is the original people who worked on Metroid Prime. So we'll talk about that maybe in another later episode if that ever comes out. But
let's get a out of 10 rating from everyone.
Hold on, I want to talk about what I thought was good.
I thought we had to wrap up time.
He gets a best thing and a worst thing.
Okay, so I just wanted to mention this. Obviously, we talked about this. Like, it's a very common thing in other, like, you talk about Zelda and other games that Nintendo makes. They always have like the same kind of formula. There's a forest temple, water temple, whatever. In every Metroid game, there's always some form of like water traversal that you need to go to, and it isn't until you get the gravity suit, which is kind of an end game kind of power up, where you can get free movement through the water. I thought that there was way too much underwater like traversal in this game before you got your gravity suit, to the point where it was infuriating to me. There was definitely a couple points where I had to put down the game because I got like upset like it too. That was one of the things. Like every time I got in the water, because you feel slower. You're
sluggish. You can't jump high. You're limited.
So I thought there was a little bit way too much of that. I wish there could be a little bit more like better. I think they could have like applied that a little bit better. But something that I really liked was necessarily the level design. Besides the stupid like archaic like shoot this wall in this elevator room, which those rooms are supposed to be like kind of safe havens. There's nothing really supposed to branch out from there. But I love that like you would go to one area. You'd be like, okay, I'm in this area, and you think you need to finish out this area, and then it brings you to another area, and you kind of have to loop around in here and then grab something, and then it would bring you to another area. And then I know you said you didn't like this, but I think it's cool that it's like you would get to an Emmy area, and it's like, okay, you know you need to go to this central unit room, and it tells you where on the mini map, and you think like, okay, I got to climb there, but you don't. You have to go through all these other areas before you finally get to there, which that's a staple of like Metroid, which I think they like took the old formula and they really expanded upon, and I really enjoyed.
So as our residential expert on the series, do you feel like the growth of like, does this take the game in a good step forward for new players and old players alike? Do you feel like it does a good job of satisfying people who like the series and people who've never heard of Metroid before?
I think it does a poor job of trying to bring new players in because it doesn't explain everything very well. I think in many games that you play, like there's always some sort of a base story which it gives you, and in this game it doesn't really give you that. It just says, "Oh, there's an X parasite here, so now you need to run to there." And like, it doesn't really go into like how in depth, you know, how serious these X parasites are to like the danger of the universe, which it really goes into in detail and Fusion. So I don't think it does a good job on that point. But if you are someone who's familiar to the game in even the most basic sense, I think you'll be able to pick this up and enjoy it. If I had to give it a number from out of 10, I'd probably give it like a solid 8.
Heard.
8. Yeah. What about you?
From a visual standpoint, I would definitely give it like a 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10. 9 out of 10. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. I was really happy. Overall, I had fun with it. When I picked it up, I didn't put it down for like 7 hours.
Yeah, I couldn't put it down.
But every time I picked it back up, it was really hard to get back to that kind of same momentum.
That I can agree on for sure.
So I would probably put it at like an 8 out of 10. 8.5. 8 out of 10.
So 8.5 overall, but in terms of just art, you'd say 9 out of 10?
Yeah, really learning about like seeing what the studio made before, how it's come, like at least learning about the game from that perspective, I was like, it's done a very good job. I'm excited for what the next games from the studio would look like.
Heard.
I'll give it a, for me, Ryan, 6.5 out of 10. There wasn't enough for me to really want to keep playing it.
Is this overall or just kind of like how?
Overall for the game,
Okay.
6.5. From like the Explorer's player type, I think it's a very solid 8, given the fact that it keeps all the same mechanics that, you know, the people that play these games, it still has those things. So there's a lot more that I could go into detail with, but I think it's a very solid 8. 6.5 for me, though.
Heard.
All right. Nice. All right, everybody, that's Metroid Dread. Pokemon card time? Okay, Pokemon card time, and then we'll wrap it up.
I'm going to wrap it up.
All right, so why are we doing this again?
We're just going to open it and see who gets to the spiciest stuff. For
those of you in podcast land, we apologize. But
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah,
try
if you're an
and
audio
get as much-
listener, we love you, but we're gonna vocalize. We're gonna talk to the experience. So we both have 2 packs of Japanese 25th anniversary cards.
All 3 of us.
You paid $450 for this.
Can you not?
How'd you go from 400 to 450?
I'm just getting more and more honest as we go through.
Oh my goodness!
All right, ready? Ooh, I got a hollow lightning.
Yeah, bro, I gotta have that. All right, Vega, tell us what you got.
Oh, yo, you guys are fucked. You guys are absolutely fucked.
Chat, let us know who win. This is round 1.
Oh my gosh. Okay, you guys good? Do we want to like?
What the fuck?
Okay, how about we all like? We'll go all one by one, and we'll all like put down a card. So like,
You only get to pick 3. You can open up everything, but just like in a normal Pokemon battle, you can pick 3 Pokemon to put down.
Okay, we'll do it. We'll just do 1 round. We're short on time. Okay.
No. Well, so what I was gonna say is,
We'll be fine. We're fine.
yeah, we can go a little bit over.
2 rounds of pick 3 or 1 round?
So
Out
no,
of all the cards that you get from these 2 packs, you can pick 3 to fight.
I'm gonna say this. What we're gonna do is we're gonna all put down our cards at not the same time. Robert's gonna go, then I'll go, then you go, then we'll choose who wins, and then I'll go first,
Oh.
and then Ryan will go
heard,
first,
heard,
and that's how we'll do it.
Bro,
Ooh, I got another
fucking
hollow.
Garbage. What the hell?
Oh my gosh, yo, you guys are fucked.
Yo.
I'm pretty sure we all got a bunch of legendary Pokemon.
Okay, all right. You know what, Robert? You want to go first?
Yeah, I will go
We have
first.
to take typing advantage and all that into account too.
All right, I'm gonna do fucking VMAX Fat Pikachu. Bro, this thing's and he's surfing on like a little board. He's bigger than the cruise ship.
That's Pokemon Yellow Pikachu. What's its HP?
It's 310.
Okay.
God damn.
So this is a thick boy.
So I go?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hold on. Ooh, what do I want? I'm gonna play. I got a holographic Mew.
Oh, that's one that I played.
Oh, God damn it.
Okay, so are we judging our team strength off of canon or based off of stats?
I think canon.
I would say canon.
I'm not trying to
Okay,
like
well,
read
you
the
fucked
card.
up with his Pikachu then, because
Well, he's big Pikachu though.
Large and in
matter.
chart. He does have a lot of health. I will say that much. Because my
This
Mew
is
only has
isn't it this Gigantamax?
my Mew only has 60. I don't know. It's in Moonrim, so I can't read it.
all right. So for my first Pokemon, I'm going to pick Dialga.
Dialga. Okay.
Roar
All
of
right.
Time is gonna fuck everything up. So
I mean, I'm literally fucking Mew though. Like, I am.
I'll just revert time.
Okay, you can win this one then. I still have a holographic Mew, so fuck you guys.
All right, my turn.
Yeah.
Fucking Zekrom, bro. Let's
Wait,
go.
I thought I was supposed to go first this
Okay,
time.
Dark Thunder. Well, okay. No, we'll keep going in the same order. Dark Thunder. All right, fine.
Zekrom. I'm gonna use Xerneas. I got a holographic Xerneas.
She.
What is Xerneas? Like, what's he the god of or whatever?
Ooh, what do I
She's a fairy,
remember?
I think,
He was fairy type, yeah.
or it was fairy.
It was fairy
And then
type.
Yveltal was dark.
Dark flying, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'll do the Gen 2 goat, Lugia.
Ooh.
Oh damn, my man got Lugia.
Okay. Okay. All right. Last Pokemon, Robert.
I will go with Yveltal.
Okay.
Yikes.
Yeah, you put down the Lugia. I'll
put
put down the
down
Ho-Oh.
Oh,
Lugia would win, I believe.
Listen, I just like Ho-Oh because Johto's my favorite.
What movie is
generation.
Ho-Oh in? Oh, he's not in a movie.
Yeah.
Is it 2000?
the very
No, he's
first
not in a
episode of Pokemon.
I think it was the second.
No, it was the first.
Was it the very first? I thought it was the second.
No, because the first is when they get fucked up by the sparrow and he has to go to the Pokemon Center. At the very end of the episode is when the
Yeah, I
Ho-Oh
know
flies
I know
over.
Ho-Oh is in that one. I think this one that was the second episode. Okay. I mean, I don't like this Pokemon, but I guess just for type advantage, I actually don't even think I get type advantage here. Robert already lost this because one of his Pokemon is a fucking Pikachu.
It's a Gigantamax, dude.
just for
Godzilla Pikachu, he would put in work.
still just Pikachu. I'm gonna pick Reshiram.
All right. So we got Reshiram, Lugia, Dialga.
I do have a fat Pikachu, by the way.
I do too.
Oh, he's a flying Pikachu.
I got one with a bunch of balloons.
Oh.
And then I got
And then I have a
Xerneas and Yveltal.
I got a surfing Pikachu too.
Dude, I got
That's the OG surfing Pikachu.
Yep.
Pikachu learns. Surf.
And then I got two of these, like whatever this Pokemon is.
It's Cosmog.
Coughing. It looks like
Cosmo.
No, that's Cosmog. That's from Sun and Moon.
Sun and Moon. Yeah, it's like the start.
And then
of
I
the
got
whole,
some white energy.
All right, you heard everyone.
Light power.
Let's
Light
go
power,
through it. Team Lightning is Yveltal, Gigantamax Pikachu, and Zekrom. Team Vega Face is Ho-Oh, Xerneas, and Mew. Team Scorpion or Bulk Nation.
Team Bulk Nation.
Team Bulk Nation is Dialga, Lugia,
and
and
Reshiram.
Reshiram.
I'm pretty sure I win because I can just revert time. I control time.
I'll take the attention. I definitely lost,
Yeah, you're fucking Pikachu.
but I got the cutest team. I'll say that. I won in style. Maybe the thing that I'm pretty sure Mew also has. I think Mew can go. Can't Mew go through time?
Mew can do a lot of things.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Mew
Mew's
also
like the
has.
OG.
But if I stop time, time has stopped.
But I think Mew also can traverse. Like time is
But
not
I
a
have
factor.
stopped time before. I'm saying I have done it first. We need a physicist in here.
I don't know. There's Pokemon. There's people who
We need
know
a
about
physicist
Pokemon.
to explain Pokemon. Okay.
All right, so we'll let chat in the comments decide who won.
Let us. We'll talk it over and we'll reveal the winner in next week. We'll let chat decide.
Yeah. So before we dip, obviously thank you guys for tuning in. For the next episode, I'm excited for because it was recently announced that Mario Kart, the next one, is in development with a new twist, and we're gonna speculate
What a
on what
twist.
that new twist is. We're gonna do our normal deep dive on all the titles, and we're gonna talk about all things Mario Kart. Overall, I was very happy with this episode. We did do a photo shoot with our very close friend Tiff. We were. Where were we?
Sanford?
Downtown Sanford.
Downtown Sanford. We got a lot of good shots. So get ready for that on the Instagram, on all social things. Also, am I missing anything?
No, we just wanted some like actually nice photos of us to post instead of just like me at the gym and like us at weddings and stuff. So there's that. So yeah, we're talking a lot about like things we want to do with the podcast in terms of deep dives. So we got this new format they're going to be doing every week. So if you guys have any comments, if you like what we're doing and you want more of that, let us know. If you feel like we could be doing something a little differently, if you feel like we can kind of focus on one area, not on one area, or maybe change it up, feel free to let us know. We're changing things day by day, really trying to find out what is the best version of this podcast where the three of us are bringing whatever we can to the table and making it really fun and enjoyable for you guys to listen to. But
Drop a follow.
drop a comment,
subscribe.
I'm
all
sure
that
most
stuff.
of you listening have our contact information. So you feel free to let us know. I'd love to hear critique or any sort of pointers that you guys have. It means a lot. I have gotten a lot of love, support, follows, and it goes a long way. All you guys that tune in the chat, all you guys that tune in through Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you guys are all great. Thank you so much. It's a brand new year, everyone. So let's work hard. Let's go at it. 2022, it's going to be our year.
As my favorite saying goes from this random Japanese man, never give up.
Never give up.
Kill that video.
I'm out here harvesting Asiatic clams.
Just try a little bit harder.
Takete.
All right. Vega, do you want to send us off?
What's the Hype podcast? Check us out on twitch.tv whenever we're live. We try to go live Tuesdays around 7 p.m. Just check the socials. We'll be posting stuff on there like whenever we want to do. Episode will probably go up. We try to have it up as quickly as possible on like streaming
Tons
services.
of content coming. Videos on YouTube, snippets, little short things.
We've also, I don't want to reveal too much, but we're playing around with the idea of like actually making like video essay style content. But well, that's for the future.
We're going to be TikToking soon, too.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, gosh.
No, you're right. Yeah,
We're going to be TikToking.
we are.
You guys
All
can
right.
do that.
I think that'll be it for us, guys. Thanks again for tuning in. Until next time.
Have a good night.
Peace.